this is Kristen, and this is a video on 9 reasons why you should not get a rabbit. Here you go, babe. One is hay. I can't stress enough how much hay just sucks. It gets everywhere. It is such a mess, and you have to have like a good place to store it. You can get it from a pet store, of course, but that's gonna set you back like $25 a bag. So try to find a farmer that can deliver it to you, or you can go pick it up. If that's the case, they will probably give it to you in a garbage bag, and so you have to transfer it into a different storage container, which is a huge mess. And rabbits also like and need to eat these chews, which is compressed hay. This prevents them from chewing on all of the other things that are in your house that you want to avoid them chewing on. And that leaves little hay crumbs in various places. Especially if you have a free roam rabbit, they're just gonna pick up their chew, carry it to a place, maybe on a rug, maybe somewhere that you walk all the time, and they're just gonna leave their mess right there for you to sweep up a million times a day. That hay is a very big allergen for people, and maybe you don't know you're allergic to it until you've already brought it into your house, and then you're stuck with it because it is a very crucial part of your rabbit's diet. They can eat fresh grass. I am constantly going and collecting fresh grass and looking like a total freak, walking with huge clumps of grass back to my house. But yeah, hay is a main source of their diet. It's a necessary evil. You'll just have to get used to it. Hopefully you have a bigger space that you can find a place for it that is out of the way and out of sight. Number 2 is cost. Rabbits can be very expensive, just a fair warning. It's not just the startup cost where you pay maybe $150 to get a rabbit, sometimes less, it depends where you live, and then you get the food, toys, treats, all that startup costs could set you back maybe like $200, $300, and then you might be naive thinking that's going to be it for a few years. That's not actually the case. So rabbits are considered exotic animals, and you have to find a vet that is specific to caring for rabbits, which can be tricky in itself. So I advise calling around your city before you even get a rabbit and getting a vet that you can take your new rabbit to once you bring that rabbit home, so you can do a checkup. Vets recommend checking up rabbits every 6 months just because their health can decline very quickly. If you go to the vet for a checkup, it can cost around $75 to $100. It depends on what kind of things that they need to do. Generally, they're just checking their weight, their vitals, and if they have any parasites in their poop. So that is something to consider. I am on the other end of the spectrum where we spend thousands of dollars to keep our rabbit alive. He has special needs, and I never went into this thinking that would be in the realm of possibility of having a pet. I was so naive, and I'm just sharing this information that you should have an emergency fund for your pet. Getting insurance can be really expensive, and sometimes their conditions aren't even covered, even if like it's not a pre-existing thing done at some point. Whether that is dental work because they get a bit of tooth spurs, maybe you don't know how to cut their nails and need assistance with that, just the regular checkups, any sort of medicine if they get ear infections, GI stasis. There's so many ailments that they could come across. Maybe they need a vaccine for the rabbit hemorrhage disease that's been going around. All of these things can cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I hope that you save and have a plan in place and really think about what you're willing to spend before you bring a rabbit into your life. 3 is the location and like where you live. What's your environment before bringing home a rabbit? So I'm about to sound like a drug commercial, but do you have carpets? Do you like to leave food out or drinks? Are you messy? Do you drop a lot of food when you're cooking? Are you loud? Is your house loud? Are you bringing over a lot of people and having parties? Do you have small kids that want to snuggle any sort of like cute animal and grab them? Do you leave out cords? Do you have predatory pets at home? Live in the country and don't have access to vet care within a close parameter? How far are you willing to drive to said vet if that is the case? These are all questions that you should be thinking about if you haven't already, just because, for instance, like going back to the carpet thing, rabbits shouldn't be around carpets. If you go for your first vet checkup with your rabbit, they're probably going to ask you that if they're doing their due diligence, because rabbits can and likely will dig up and chew particles of the carpet, and the carpets are toxic and it can result in a blockage. You can't have rugs. The rabbits, it depends on what kind of rug fabric it is, they might dig that up too, but it's carpets that's the main concern. If you're leaving like food and drinks out and you're dropping things, you just have to be really mindful that there is a little rabbit that's running under your feet, ready to pick it up at any second. And if it's something that's toxic to them, like onions or avocados, citrusy things, they'd be right under you to catch it, and then they ingest it, and then you have to worry about their health and monitor them, and it can be a big pain in the butt. Rabbits will surprisingly get into a lot of things. Like, they know how to climb, they'll jump up on tables if you leave food out. So say you have popcorn out on the table and then you go to bed and you forget to put that bowl that's not totally empty away, and then in the morning your rabbit gets up bright and early at 5 a.m. and you're still asleep, and then they get into the bowl, and then you have a situation. So I know you're probably thinking like, oh, my rabbit's gonna be in a cage or in an enclosed space, so that won't happen to me. But like, we'll get to that, because they should not be in a cage. The predatory pets, of course, there are so many situations where we see online and videos of unlikely pets becoming friends. I think it takes a lot of work to get there, and there's a lot of risks involved in it, a lot of patience and time. So if you have patience and time and have a pet that you know is actually a bit more docile, maybe they're the drive and the instincts aren't as predatory as maybe like another dog would be. Like, some dogs can be really docile and chill, same with cats. But know your pets before bringing another rabbit into that, because you could end up in a very toxic home environment trying to keep one pet alive while the others are trying to eat it, and it won't be a happy time. 4 is personality / socializing. So obviously you probably know already that rabbits are prey animals, and that comes with shyness and being very cautious. It's a built-in system for them to keep them alive. And so when you bring your rabbit home, don't expect them to like immediately love you unless you have like a rabbit. Say I was like rehoming Astro. He's already like such a sucker and loves socializing, cuddles, and comes to me all the time. But if you have like a brand new bunny that is just being like weaned off of its parents, it's gonna be so shy and nervous. It's gonna hide under every surface possible, trying to get away from you. And so you have to be very patient to just let it come to you. Like, learn to like build that bond. It's not like a cat or a dog where it's going to be super excited to see you, at least for the first possibly months, year of its life, and it may never even get to that point. Sometimes it's just like not in their personality to become a cuddly bunny. And so you need to know going into this that you can't force that relationship. The more you pick it up, the more it's going to hate you and be nervous around you and not trust you. So you're going to want to lay on the floor with it, be in its space, let it come to you, and really take the time to think about how it's feeling and how nervous it must be in the environment you just brought it to. is socializing in terms of like you have to do litter training, and they chew a lot. Like when you bring your rabbit home, like they're gonna have a baby phase, and that baby phase might never stop. Like it depends. I am in a bunny Facebook group where some rabbits are just straight up assholes and destroy things. And I've been fortunate that Astro hasn't been that bad. We for sure have nibble marks where I will be looking at something and laughing just because all of a sudden there's like a nibble in it. And I'm like, this little rabbit got to my pillowcase or something, you know? So, be kind to your rabbit that like they're gonna chew. It's just in their nature. Like hide your cords, put cord protectors on them. Don't leave things out that you don't want to get damaged. Like it's just common sense to bunny proof if you're going to be bringing a rabbit home, and do it quicker or sooner than later, just to prevent unnecessary loss of personal items. Isn't that right? 5 is if you think rabbits should be in a cage. And I say this as one of the most important ones. I know they're not in any particular order because it'll depend on the person, but if you think that rabbits should be in a cage, I think you need to stop what you're doing and do way more research, because rabbits definitely should not be kept in a cage. I'm a big advocate for free roaming your rabbit. You get to know their personality so much. You wouldn't put a dog or a cat in a cage, and frankly, we shouldn't put a lot of animals that we do in cages. The cages in the pet stores are way too small for rabbits. I've seen videos of these little ones, it's like a hamster cage and rabbits being inside of it, and it's just awful. And same with the bigger ones that have a second tier and a water bottle. It's just unfortunate that pet stores market it to rabbits when it's a bit more for gerbils or guinea pigs. Rabbits are meant to be out and running, and they have so much personality and energy. Astro's been free roam ever since we got him, and he's able to come to us when he wants to hang out and when he wants to go do his own thing and take naps and explore. It's totally his free will to do so. You just have to bunny proof your house, and that's honestly really easy to do. Number 6 is that rabbits are very fragile. And so that's why it's important that you don't have maybe young kids at home, or if you don't have the personality that is going to be picking up your rabbit all the time. What are you doing, buddy? Because they have a very fragile skeletal structure. So if I were to carry Astro and he gets spooked by something, or he doesn't like being held, as rabbits do, they get a little spastic, he could fall out of my arms, and from a high height they could break their bones. And it's not as simple as like just letting their bones heal. Typically if they break a paw, it has to be amputated, and so it can be very serious. And that is same goes with if you are wanting to bring your rabbit out on a leash. It can be done, but it is a risk, because again, if they are in an environment where they get spooked, the harness can jar them back and break bones, or they can get caught on something. It's not uncommon for these accidents to happen when pet owners are just trying to bond with their rabbit and get them some outdoor time. So it's just something to be mindful of and cautious that your rabbit can be easily injured and make it harder to take care of them, and or you might have to like euthanize them if it is a serious injury. So they will hide injuries from you, and it can take a long time to figure out what their health issue even is. 7 is if poop grosses you out. Obviously when you have a pet, any pet is going to have to deal with their poop, but rabbits, like, they can be litter trained. It's just that they are territorial and they will leave their poop, excuse me, sometimes out of just laziness. You can see that rabbits can have an attitude. He just nipped at me because I wasn't petting him, and they do have two different types of poops. Some people might not know that, and so it can be a surprise to see the second kind, which is usually happens late at night. This is called a cecotrope. It is soft and mushy and pretty gross. It kind of looks like a blackberry. They can be very large, and it's when your rabbit didn't absorb all of those nutrients for the day, and so they actually eat that poop. They also eat the hard ones once in a while too, but it's a bit rarer. Yeah, so it can be gross, but keep in mind that you don't have to bathe your rabbits, so that is a plus. They will just bathe themselves, and so that's one less thing that you have to worry about if your rabbit does have a poopy butt. It's not your problem. 8 is lifespan. Rabbits can surprisingly live from 7 to 12 years when they are inside a house. So if they are in a hutch, maybe that's a bit shorter. If they're out in the wild, definitely much shorter. It's only 1 to 2 years, I think, maybe 3 if they're like a really smart rabbit that can hide from all of the predators. You really have to think before you get a rabbit of where you're gonna be in 5 years, in 10 years. Like, what does your life look like? Are you still going to want this rabbit as a part of your life? If not, it's probably a good consideration to not introduce a pet into your life so that we can avoid having to rehome it in the future. I say this just because I have experienced this myself, where Astro is 4 years old and he can live for another, I don't know, 7 years. Can't do math quick. But I'm thinking about moving abroad, and now you can't easily move abroad with a rabbit. Some places have really strict biosecurity, so it's not like I can up and bring him to Australia with me or to New Zealand, wherever I want to go. So it's, if you think that your life plan is going to be changing or you're going to be moving a lot, even if that's within just a town over or city or within the country, it puts a lot of stress on the rabbit. But if you're more stable in your life right now, then it's definitely more practical for you to get one. Number 9 is only getting one. I say this as such a hypocrite because I only have one rabbit, but I know that rabbits are meant to be social, and in the wild they live in warrens and all together. Then if you're able to give them a lot of attention that they need, if you have that type of rabbit that is very cuddly and comes to you for a lot of attention, then it's not always a bad thing. But if you're the type of person that is home less, so like you're working a lot, maybe you don't have anyone else that you're living with that can pick up the slack, then it's not really conducive to bringing a rabbit, because they are social and they do want to have a companion. But the caveat is that bunny speed dating is a thing. So you can't just like get a rabbit online and then be like, oh, like maybe I should get another rabbit, and be like, oh, like this will be great for both of them, likes the other rabbit. It's very possible that they never will. So you want to introduce them, see what their temperaments are like. If they fight, sometimes that's normal, but you have to be prepared to separate them. Sometimes it's like love at first sight. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work and you have to keep them separated for a while. I know one person that has 4 rabbits and 3 of them hate each other, and they have to let them out for socialization at very different times or for exercise in their house, and they have to keep them in separate rooms. So I mean, if you have the space to do that, by all means, but if you live in a 1-bedroom apartment in a city, it's just not a practical solution. So for us, we decided not to get a second one because Astro's vet care is so expensive, where we're spending thousands of dollars in a year just to take care of his special needs. We decided it wouldn't be good to introduce another rabbit into that and incur more costs. And we also just don't feel ready to go through the bunny speed dating process. It doesn't mean we never will, but at least for right now, that's not really in our future. We've thought about fostering, but fostering, again, you can't do that when you have one rabbit at home already, because it's the whole, what if they fall in love forever and they're bonded? And once they're bonded, you could make them really upset and they can become depressed if you separate them. That comes to getting one and multiples. So it's just something to keep in mind. So those are the 9 reasons that you should not get a rabbit based on my experience of having a rabbit for the last 4 years. But I will say having a rabbit has been also just so amazing to have in my life as well. And I hope that when you're ready, you'll introduce a rabbit into your life as well.